I am the governor of college football. Yes, sir. The mayor of college football, a.k.a. Downtown Nino Brown. Yes, sir.
Welcome back to CFB Nation. I'm your host, Nino Brown. There's my guy. He's on the screen with me once again. We just finished up Debbie Dollins yesterday, and here we are with Overreaction Mondays. Boomer will be here soon. Before we kick it all off, Dino, how we doing, my man?
Not too bad. Crazy day in college football. So, yeah, I mean, like we were talking, some of these guys I didn't expect to get the axe.
Yeah, well, let's talk into it before we get into this rapid fire. I mean, today alone, just maybe an hour ago, Charlotte head coach Biff Poggi, he got the axe. I mean, if you don't know who he is, he's just, the sleeveless bandit. He's the guy, almost like a Belichick cut in the front, high cut on the sleeves, and he's just old school. I agree with you. I thought he might have got another year. The 49ers were in some games, got a couple wins this year. I thought maybe he might have, got floated for one more season. But this is gonna be a trend we're gonna be talking about here. With the AAC, another guy there, FAU head coach Tom Herman. He gets the bounce, and I was kind of surprised at that with a lot of the moving parts, right? Like, you had a new quarterback coming in, Cam Fancer, who got injured twice, I believe, this year, and missed a couple of games. So you would think that would kind of play a factor in, like, injury taking in the toll. I know they were expecting to have a better record than what they had, but he got bounced.
I've also, before we go on to the next coach, I've seen he's been looking for P4 OC jobs over the last couple of weeks. So he knew that the writing was on the wall.
I read that too as well. So yeah, he was trying. Hey, kudos to him and trying to get.
I mean, he was good as an OC. Don't get me wrong. So
offensively, they were okay. I mean, defensively, they just couldn't stop a nosebleed.
Which is funny that they brought back the DC as soon as he was gone too.
See, that's what I was gonna say. That's where I think things are fishy. There had to be some like button heads because now the interim coach instantly within 5 hours of the fire and brought back the old guy who was fired. I think his name was Rock something.
Yeah.
He brought him back. So that's interesting. And then of course, right down the road for me, a quick 40 minutes. Legend, UMass head coach Don Brown kind of. They say fired. I think it was a mutual parting of ways or whatever. But Don Brown in the second stint wasn't as good as he was in the first stint. When you're looking at something like 6-28 or something like that, that's that. Kind of the writing was on the wall there for him as well. But we're talking about two coaches prior. We're looking at 5 total. You're looking at East Carolina, Temple, Rice. They all fired their coach earlier in the season. That's a lot from one conference, now. With 2 games to go, some 3, depending on how you play it, like that. I'm surprised.
Yeah. Like I was saying, Biff, I didn't see getting fired at all, so that one was kind of surprising. Some of these other ones, though, like you knew it was gonna happen. But again, like some of these schools, I thought they would have waited just to save face a little bit, but in today's day and age, it's what have you done for me lately? And a lot of these guys haven't done much. So,
yeah, I'm hearing that Rice interviewed former Washington State coach Nick Rovalich, I believe his name is. So, yep. I mean, he only had 1 season with Washington State, but that was kind of interesting. I posted it on the CF Nation, and I'm kind of a fan because, it shows our age a little bit. Patrick Surtain Sr. interviewing, for Southern Miss, going home. He's an alum there, played there. I know there's a couple of guys. I think that the Georgia Tech OC, Faulkner, he might be the lead guy at the moment right now. But
what about our guy, Marion? Have you seen him for any of these?
I haven't yet, but he's got to be getting,
you would think, considering he was a finalist for San Diego State last year, you would think he would.
Yeah. What's the coach's name from Louisiana? He's like 39 years old. Desereau?
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
DeSormo, that dude, he got to be getting. I mean, look what Louisiana's doing this year. He's a young coach. Offense is good. Woolridge is good. Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard it yet. Well, UNLV's winning. Ain't nobody. He ain't trying to. They're ranked for the first time, in years. Marion ain't trying to hear no phone calls right now. Maybe when the season's over and everything's
Right.
wrapped up. And plus, I don't think any of those schools, like maybe East Carolina, but I don't know. With the way UNLV's ranked this year, the way kind of the Mountain West is getting a little bit of respect with Boise, UNLV, Colorado State kind of creeping back into it again. I don't know if he's going to bounce right away. Barry Odom, I think he knows what he's got, and he's going to try to keep him as long as he possibly can over there.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this rapid fire. Boom, we'll get it. I believe Boom will be here before we get into the body of the show here. Keep it under 5 words. All right, quick one-liners here. Number 1, Oregon survives an upset in Madison as they defeat Wisconsin 16-13 for the dub.
I'm going to go they're beatable. I guess short and sweet like that.
I agree. I think that they should twice now. They show themselves vulnerable. Boise State, and now Wisconsin. 2 teams that I don't, and it's not Brian. If you're watching, my buddy Brian, a Boise State resident fan. I'm not knocking them, but twice they've looked like they could be beatable. Speaking of Boise State, number 13, Boise State doubles up San Jose State, 42-21 for their 9th victory of the season. And Genty hits the triple once again. Shout out Nick Nash, though. People, if you're sleeping on this kid, Nick Nash, wide receiver, San Jose State. This kid's
I think day 2 pick.
Yes. You're going to be like, where'd he come from? Oh, the guys over at CF Nation, they were talking about him midseason. I think this kid. Last year he did it, double-digit touchdowns. Again, he's doing it. I don't know. His footwork around the boundary is just dumb. But give me a one-liner about Boise State.
Genty almost lost himself the Heisman, I feel like, in that game. Not to go too deep, but I think there was at one point he was averaging less than 3 yards a carry. Only saved himself by a couple long runs.
He put it away, though, at the end for him.
He did. Yes. But until those long runs, I was even tweeting about it. I was like, he's costing himself here because it was ugly. But a lot of teams have, I think, playoff-wise, you're going to see 8 guys in the box constantly, and they're going to force Boise's quarterback to beat him. And
he has good games.
He's not a bad quarterback,
but he's also capable of putting up 100 and 2 interceptions or a couple turnovers. So you're getting the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde there. Listen, I said it from the beginning. I'll say it again. Genty had to be at the Barry Sanders pace. He's well off that pace now.
Yeah, I think he's like 450 now.
Yeah, it's Travis Hunter's to lose. No knock to Genty. I said it before. I'll say it again. He made a believer out of me. Because can just do it. I think he's the best back in the country right now. Even though I am a Caleb Johnson fan. Toledo. Now you were there, my friend. You were in house. So this is a good one. Toledo defeats Central Michigan 37-10 behind QB Tucker Gleason's 3 touchdown performance, 2 rushing, 1 passing. Go.
I didn't know Tucker Gleason had wheels. To be completely honest for you, there was one drive before half. He busted off like 2 30-plus yard runs to set him up for a touchdown right before half. But it was just dominant from the kickoff. So I won't linger.
They got a shot. They got a shot to be in the championship. I know they're like tied for second, right?
They're gonna need some help. But yeah, there's definitely a chance. Yep.
That's all they can control is them winning out. They got to win out as a chance because I think everybody in that mix is playing in conference. I think down the stretch.
Yeah.
So, all right, Baylor walked out of Morgantown. I was surprised with a 49-35 victory over West Virginia, even with the return of quarterback Garrett Green, possibly saving Davon Otter's job here. Go.
I've seen that it did save Arna's job, that he's expected to be back next year. On the flip side, I don't see Neil Brown coming back next year. I mean, I kind of tweeted in our group message who I think could be the next head coach. But
yeah, I mean, you had a lot of weapons. You have a lot of talent on that offense. I know Garrett Green missed some time, but
yeah,
you got to
it
be
was
able
just
to
an
figure
extremely
it out.
disappointing year.
The sophomore, he wasn't bad. He got it done out there doing his
yeah.
dance,
He showed his potential. So yeah.
So, yeah, I think they underperformed this year as well. Number 14, SMU stays on top of the ACC with a 38-28 victory over Boston College at home in Dallas. Grayson James did perform well. Defense of Boston College just could not stop anybody. Go.
I'm a Jennings fan. I think switching, as much as I liked Preston Stone too, I think switching quarterbacks is the reason they are where they are right now. And they could be a sneaky team if they can make it into the playoffs. They could be a sneaky team.
They can stay hot. They can, they can be good. The defense is got to stay locked in because defense is.
They're going to have to score points in the playoffs.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, like,
but they got the quick offense that they could.
And they had, like I said, Jennings is good. Rashad Smith, the running back. I'm a big fan of him. That kid has been cooking. So you have to just wait and see. But it seems as though they somehow always find a way. It was a close game, and they were able to pull away in the end. This one was the one that, like, maybe a little longer here when we talk about it. New Mexico upsets number 18 Washington State, 38-35. That's 5 wins in 7 games for Bronco Mendenhall. I mean, they started out 0-4, my guy. Like, what's good here? Talk to me about the Lobos.
Yeah, a lot of this, I don't want to take away from the players, but a lot of this is on Bronco. I feel like everywhere he goes, he just wins. I mean, he did it at BYU. He did it at Virginia, and we saw how quick Virginia fell apart once he left. And now he's going there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Dampier is their quarterback there, right?
Oh, yeah. Kids, 4 touchdowns total, 3 on the ground.
Like, yeah. So, I mean, if he was 6'2", 6'3", he'd be a P5 starting quarterback. So, I'm a huge fan of him. But again, Bronco, he just doesn't get enough credit as a coach.
Hey, there he is. Boomer has joined us live here. We're in the middle of the rapid fire. You're in the seat. I'm throwing it at you. UNLV, recently ranked UNLV, defeats San Diego State 41-20 as my guy, Haj Malik Williams, continues to lead the Rebels. Boom. Go.
Listen, I mean, it's almost like they don't miss their quarterback. I mean, at all.
That's Luka who?
Not even a little bit. Like, I mean, that was from the get-go, too. It was almost like no big deal for them. I mean, cashing checks every day, it looks like.
It was almost as if he should have been the starter, and that's not a knock to Sluka at all. It's almost as if this kid should have been. So I think his leadership skills is above and beyond, and they've bought in, and everybody.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's just the way he carries himself. You know, you can see it from the get-go, and he ain't got that rude swagger about him. He's just there. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm here to pick this up.
Also, can we talk about how, like, much more the offense is clicking just because HMW is so much more accurate in the pass game, where Sluka, I think at one point was what, 40%?
40. It was under 48% when he decided to leave.
And I mean, he went 20 for 29 for almost 250 and a tutties. I mean, proof's in the pudding.
Look at how the return of Ricky White, as soon as, you know, my guy Williams was in that quarterback instantly. The Jesus has been a guy. Jaden Thomas out of the backfield. Now that you have the 2 guys in the backfield with him and Thomas, he's emerged again. But UNLV 23, top 25. I mean, watch out. I think they can cook. They need a little bit of help. If Colorado State can lose one here down the stretch, I'm rooting for Fresno. If Fresno can get that W this week against Colorado State, I think we got a chance of seeing UNLV Boise State for Mountain West Championship. That's fireworks, people. All right, last one. D-Now, Jacksonville State. I'm a fan of this team. They grew on me over, the last 2 seasons. Squeaks out the dub versus FIU, 43-31, to get to 7-3 and sit atop the Conference USA leaderboard. Surprising. Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, Rich Rod's doing his thing there. Tyler Huff. Yeah. Tyler Huff could have had a better game. I think he was barely over 50%, but Trey Stewart, their running back, kind of went off 22 carries,
again,
$135 plus, couple touchdowns. First year up at the big leagues. I mean, yes, it's FIU, but I mean, they're top of their conference. So
yeah,
pretty surprising.
Last year they got a sprinkle. This year they're kind of dominant. And like you said, Trey Stewart, this is probably the 3rd or 4th time his kid's had over 100 yards and a couple touchdowns. It's a kid to look out for. I think they can retain his services. The Gamecocks may have, a star in the rise there. All right. Boom, when you were gone, getting in here, we were talking about 3 coaches fired today: Charlotte, FAU, and UMass. This is 5 coaches in an American Athletic Conference that are gone already with 2 games to go. What are your thoughts on the early firings?
Tom Herman did deserve a job anyway, so I don't know how he's there.
Whoa!
He's been so average. I don't know. I mean, when he got the Texas job, it was almost like a slap in the face to all the alumni there. I mean, I don't even know. That dude walked in with his horns down. He should have fired him the day he walked in. So I've never been a fan. Again, it's wild. It's all one conference, kind of getting crazy. But I guess their American Athletic Conference has a higher standard than the Pac-12 did.
Wow. Wait, shots. Boomer comes in, woke up this morning. I got on the show, chose violence. All right, Boom. I love it. All right, let's get into the body of the show here. Number 3, Texas traveling to Fayetteville to take on Arkansas in SEC battle. Texas escaped Razorback Stadium with a 10-point victory after the Longhorns defense locked down the Razorbacks on the final 2 possessions. It was scary down the stretch here. I was a little concerned, see what's going on. Dino, what are your biggest takeaways from this game? And is Texas still the favorite in the SEC?
Takeaways from this is, I don't know what happened to Quinn Ewers. I mean, 20 completions, barely scraped over 170 yards. Yes, he had 2 touchdowns, but it just wasn't as impressive as I thought it would be. Don't get me wrong, Arkansas surprised, I think, a lot of people being where they are right now with 5 wins. But Texas is just so much better athletically, I feel. And I feel like this should have just been one of those cakewalk sort of games. As for, is Texas still the top? I mean, number-wise, you have to say yes, but I think that gap is closing. You saw what Ole Miss did a couple weeks ago to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
You saw what Georgia did this week, even with Tennessee. So when Georgia's clicking, I think it has to be a 1A, 1B sort of thing right there with Ole Miss 2.
It's hard for me to disagree with you. But when I look at the top of the board, I just see Texas. I see Texas A&M. Like I said, it seems as though the committee, the schedule makers knew what they were doing here as they set up a lot of these conference games to close it out all across the board. It will be interesting. I know we talked about Quinn, but if you want to split hairs in this one, he was the better offensive guy.
Barely.
The Longhorns, I mean, their best running back had 89 yards. I mean, Denon Blue really didn't do much. I mean, that's the guy who had the most, but outside of him, there wasn't much. I know people like to say, Quinn can't throw the deep ball. That wide receivers for Longhorns really weren't getting much separation in this game. They weren't really helping him out as much. And it seems as though this year Quinn's taken a lot of that on the chin and really hasn't, fought back about it. Hasn't really, when it comes to the media, just kind of ate it as I think that's some maturity in him this year. A little bit like, yeah, it's my fault, but not all of it is really his fault. Shocks probably could call a better script here, get these guys open. They got these speedy guys to get them open quickly to offset Quinn not being able to throw the deep ball. And I feel like we're just kind of all over the place in these last couple of games. Boomer, you're the resident defensive guy. Okay. Talk to me about this defense. They almost held Arkansas to under 200 total yards, under 3 yards per carry on the ground. What's going on? This defense is locked down?
As good as the offense can be for Texas, because they do have a lot of speed and a really solid offensive line, if they're going to win it all, it has to be on their defense. They have to be anchored down, play as strong as they can be. Now, believe me, I don't think Arkansas scares me to death offensively. Petrino he shouldn't be there, honestly. I think he should have stayed on his motorcycle and roll his ass back to Texas, maybe down to Houston or something. But, FAU's got a job opening, so there's that. 2 Texas boys just back down there. I don't think Arkansas scares you. I will tell you, everybody here, I just moved back into Arkansas on the border. I could throw a rock to Oklahoma right now, but they're calling for Arkansas's coaching job as it is. So, and if FAU is going to fire their coach, why wouldn't Arkansas?
Well, I thought, early on with the success Green was having, they were putting some wins together. They were kind of in games in the SEC that they probably shouldn't have been in.
Should have won the Oklahoma State game for sure.
Right. But, you only get so many wishes out of the bottle before the genie's gone. So I think, time has passed there. I think it's something for a new regime. I got a question for both of you guys. I know, you're more a defensive guy, but when it comes to Texas's defense, does the Texas defense run through Trey Moore, or does Texas defense run through the sophomore Anthony Hill Jr.?
Sophomore, for sure.
Okay.
I think. I really think he stepped up, and he was a dude when he got on campus anyway. But when you always want that defensive player that sees a play before it happens.
Yes.
And you be praying for that guy. He kind of like took over the Overstone, aspect from that team, really became a leader there. And he's so young. I mean, you'd be praying for players like that, which is hard to say as an Oklahoma fan, but
it is what it is.
He's the real.
Dino, you agree it runs through Anthony Hill Jr.?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think his football IQ for just a sophomore is amazing. So I mean, and you got him for at least another year. So
I'm a Harold Perkins fan, and Anthony Hill Jr. is everything that LSU people wanted.
Yeah, you just don't know what Perkins is. Like, he's
Between
not an inside linebacker,
right,
and he's not
right.
big enough to play on the end as a every down speed rusher either. So
Right, where Anthony Hill is your middle linebacker. He's the lead alpha guy in any linebacker room. He's the green dot. He's the general. And I think when he chooses to come out, he will be LB1 in that class, no matter what. All right, Kansas upset number 6 BYU on the road in Provo. Kansas has now defeated AP top 25 opponents in back-to-back weeks, and everything offensively seems to run through Devin Neal. Is it too little too late for the Jayhawks? Boomer, what in God's name happened to Kansas this year?
Listen, I mean, we talked about this. They were my dark horse to win the Big 12. I really thought that, Leopold going to step on his contract. I think maybe it's just he got paid and he decided to hold back. I don't know. But I really thought Kansas was going to run through a lot of people. But I didn't bet on Kansas to win this game. I mean, we just talking about BYU last week about how their coach don't get enough love. And maybe he listened to our podcast and his head blew up or something. I don't know, because Kansas looked like a much better team this week.
I mean, if you want to talk about it, it's been 4 straight weeks. They almost beat Kansas State. They lost by 2, and they had the dub the previous week. So, I mean, something all of a sudden started clicking. I'm not a fan of Jalen Daniels. I'm not a fan of QBs that have, consecutive injuries and back-to-back. It doesn't usually play out well, especially when it comes to back injuries, right? So, but I am a fan of Neal. But I just, I was kind of on the same boat like Genty. Like, if they're going to stack the box and see, can he do it? He seems to be able to do it. You know what I mean? And he's doing it against Big 12 defenses, which we all know is either hit or miss. Either you're going to be really good against the run, or you're going to get let up 200-something yards, and that's just how it's going to be. But yeah, Devin Neal. I'm surprised. Can they play spoiler the rest of the way for whoever? Who do they got down the box? Colorado. This week is going to be. Can they do it again? Can they play spoiler one more time? Shout out the man, the guy, the legend, governor of college football. He's grinding. He's got things going on. Well, we miss you. I'll have to bring you on maybe when you get some time. Maybe next week and get you back on the show and be the ringleader of it all. Shout out KT. He's the dude. You've been on the Colorado train. We're gonna get to that in a minute, but how big is this game?
I mean, obviously for Colorado, every game is big. But I mean,
Kansas got momentum now.
Yeah, but seeing what they did to Utah, Kansas's defense is not the same level as Utah.
Agreed.
But as for Kansas, I think it just shows you how much Andy Kotelnicki, I think was how you say his last name, was to their success last year. You saw their offense just tank dramatically without him there. And as for the game, I mean, I was actually a loss for words. Night game in Provo, I was like, oh, this is cake. BYU's just going to run through Kansas. Retzlaff had a mad game. Not what you really expect from him if you watched any this season. They almost had, yes, they had 162 yards rushing, but it wasn't like typical BYU where they're
It was just
running
LJ
game.
Martin total. That was
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. Where normally all season it was multiple guys just beating you down all game with a little bit of res left here and there.
Mhm.
But that defense for BYU, I don't know what happened. Because like even looking at the box, Devin Neal didn't really have a decent game. Yes, he had 2 touchdowns.
It's the
but
touchdowns. It was
yeah,
the red
14
zone defense for
Yeah.
BYU that crumbled. They held them to 10 till like, I don't know, what, 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter when they scored that
Yeah.
touchdown. So
Yeah.
it was, they played there. This is the thing, is they have a specific game plan that they have to live up to. Okay. It's the bend but don't break type defense. We're gonna try to get to 225, 250 total yards, right? It's mostly going to be on the ground. I mean, Retzlaff really didn't play that much worse than what he's been doing outside. If you take the turnover away, it looks like a normal game for him, right? In reality, he didn't have the rushing yards this game, where he usually has a couple on the ground. It was mostly Martin and I think Pulte or the other gentleman's name. I think he had 30 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it came to red zone defense, where BYU has been really good most of the season, they faltered. But Kansas has been cooking in the red zone. And Devin Neal has been the catapult for the Jayhawks offense, and it doesn't matter what team has been on the other side of the ball. He's been able to get it done. Can Kansas be that spoiler? I'm really interested. Now I got a question for both of you guys before we go on to the next topic. Is BYU cooked? You know, they have a game this upcoming week against Arizona State, what I think is huge, and then they close it out against Houston. That's 2 Big 12 games. If they win them both, they're right there. Okay? They're still in the driver's seat. I'll go Boomer first. Are they cooked?
I think they lose 2 in a row. I think Arizona State is primed right now. I think they look good, playing a lot better than I think we all expected to. BYU is going to have a hangover, I feel like. I mean, if I was a bet man right now, I'd bet on Arizona State. Nobody will mess with the Sun Devil anyway, so.
I think I might be on the same train. I think that the fog and all the magic dust of BYU has kind of ran out.
Is it in Tempe? Is it in Tempe?
Yeah, it's in Tempe. I think they're gonna get the doors blown off of them.
Yeah. I mean, not that it would have swayed my answer. But yeah, I think Dillingham's got him rolling right now. He's slowly creating a beast. Because Levitt's pretty young there. I know we're gonna hit on that later, but yeah, I'm with Boomer. I think Arizona State blows the doors off BYU.
I'm looking at an Arizona State team that looks to me as to be a smaller kind of a development and process Oregon. You're seeing this high-paced offense. You're seeing that mobile QB who's got that arm, kind of like a Bo Nix. He doesn't, necessarily you can throw the deep ball crazy. Levitt can be mobile. Levitt can fire them balls. That short intermediate game. They got that deep threat in Jordan Tyson. I've been a fan of Jordan Tyson since he was at Colorado. Injuries derailed this kid. Now he's healthy. Now he has a connection with Samuel Levitt. I mean, he was all over the place. You see the first touchdown, toe tapping in the end zone, fully stretched. Like, my man was focused. He's locked in. Yeah, I just see it. I mean,
just imagine if they still had Conyers, though.
Oh,
as that second
that
weapon,
big body boy, bro. Come on.
Oh man,
you don't know if he's a tight end or if he's the alpha outside receiver. Yeah, I mean, they got a couple pieces to work on in the portal, maybe in these recruits this year. Watch out for the Sun Devils and Kenny Dillingham. I think they got something going. Samuel Levitt's a real deal. I think people getting woken up real quick about him. All right. Just leading right into it. Arizona State, defeats number 16 Kansas State 24-14 on the road in Manhattan. Dillingham's got these players bored in. They're on board, like we said. Samuel Levitt's cooking. Can Arizona State stick around in the rest of the Big 12 competition to get to this championship game? D-Now, you're up first. Talk to you about the Sun Devils and what will it take to finish this magical season the right way?
Yeah, so I mean, Kenny Dillingham was asked after the game, like, where he sees the program, and he's like, we're leaps and bounds ahead of where I thought we would be. And I think that goes heavily on to Sam Levitt's development. We saw a little bit of sprinkle when he was at Michigan State, but this year he's just taken that leap. that a lot of people wish Avery Johnson would have taken.
I'm with that.
And as for can they stick a fork in the rest of the Big 12? Like we answered, I see them beating BYU. I see them,
Arizona.
yeah. I mean, that's a
big for the
rivalry
program.
game.
That's what I'm saying. You win
Yep.
that game and get yourself to what? It would be 10 or
Yep,
9.
that would make them 10-2, 7-2 in the conference. They would have the tiebreaker over BYU.
Is this year 3 or year 2 in Dillingham's
I want
campaign?
to say it's year 2. I may be wrong.
Year 2,
but
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
I
year
wanna
2.
say it's year
yeah.
2.
So, yo,
Yeah,
bro,
leaps and
come
bounds
on.
ahead of where he should be.
Yes.
And I said yesterday or this morning, I can't remember. I got him making the championship game, and like Boom said, I don't think any of us saw Arizona State in this position. So just seeing them where they are right now, I mean, if it was anybody outside Colorado, my original pick, I would be rooting for Arizona State 100% to win the whole thing. Or Big 12. I'll stop at Big 12,
Yeah,
not
Big
the whole
12.
thing.
Before I flip it to you, Boom, real quick, if Cam Scatterbo can get to 100% for that Big 12 championship game, if they can make it there,
Colorado's in trouble.
yeah, Colorado's in some damn
100%.
trouble. That kid, if that kid was healthy, oh yeah, I think and I said it on the show.
He would be running back 3.
He would be in the Heisman talk. He would have to be in some of this Heisman talk for what he's doing for Arizona State, because he was not only doing it on the ground,
So
he was doing
I was going to say, yeah, he would probably pass Caleb Johnson in my book because the receiving aspect.
Yeah, putting the team on his back, kind of when Levitt got hurt. I think it was 1 or 2 games that Levitt missed. This kid was just 100 yards in the air, 100 yards on the ground. I think he had a game was like 4 touchdowns. Like he literally won them the game, one of them. So this kid's the real deal. Healthy RB3, I'm right there with you. He's as legit as it gets. All right, boom. Kansas State fell apart down the stretch. Back-to-back losses to unranked Big 12 opponents. Who's at fault here? Is it the inexperience at quarterback, or is this the head coach's fault?
It's always the coach. I mean, it's hands down. You're prepared, especially in Manhattan. Like, I mean, it's as a Oklahoma fan, I will tell you, we hated going to Kansas State. Right, playing in Manhattan's tough. Because the crowd shows up. It's small, but that crowd shows up. It's hard to play that team. The team is always up. Mm-hmm. So if the team is not up, it's the coach's fault. You can battle. Do they've had like nine quarterbacks? I mean, they just be rolling through these dudes. So you know, you're either preparing that guy every week or you're not. And when you've got 7 wins and you should be rolling through dudes. I mean, early in the season, we're like, can somebody beat Kansas State? You know, and now we're like, we ain't gonna beat Kansas State.
Beat somebody.
Well, and like it comes back to Colin Klein's offense. Obviously, was
I thought it's Chris Klein, right?
Chris Klein, but Colin Klein was his brother.
It was the former quarterback. Yeah. Was the OC there? Now is at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
But like. At the same point, it's okay. Avery Johnson obviously hasn't developed as the passer that they wanted him to, but you got Giddens and Edwards in the backfield. Like, just run the damn ball. And Edwards has only 53 carries on the season. Like, it just doesn't sit well with me.
Now, I mean, in this game, Giddens took over. I mean, the dude was averaging almost 10 yards per clip.
So I understand. Yeah, but
sometimes there's just too many mouths to feed when you have a running quarterback as well. And then all of a sudden, now you put all your eggs in one basket, hoping that the 3-headed monster can carry you, every week. I got a question. Like, all right, let's look. Like, you would think if you say Chase Brown and Dante Cephas, that they would have a better, wide receiver room production than what they kind of have. What happened why are these guys that we're seeing in these G5 schools that are so good, like Dante Cephas, Sakari Franklin, come up to this next level and just not be the guys? Like, what happened? Dante Cephas' back-to-back years, we saw nothing. Did he go to Penn State last season and do nothing?
Yep.
Talk to me before we get to the next pop.
The expectations weren't there, so you're more relaxed. Remember, like when we'll talk about some players that really were the opposite. Like D.D. Westbrook in JUCO and stuff like that was a dude, right? And then he came up to the D1, played Oklahoma. The differences, and I got to find this out. He used to throw up before every game because he was so nervous. And this dude was like the Blitnikoff Award winner, but was scared of it because the pressure is much higher when you're a dude. And Cephas was a dude. I mean, we praise this dude out the yang every week. Like, he was a dude. And the stage is just too big. I mean, it's just what it is, it seems like to me. I think we can agree on it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you right there, too. D-Now, question for you. Outside of, 2020, Chris Klein hasn't had a bad coaches. He's had winning record the whole year, but they just seem to fall short. It's just an kind of underwhelming season for them. Yes, they're 7-3, but they're probably not going to be in the playoff hunt. They're probably not going to be in the Big 12 championship. At what point do we thought can they get somebody better at Kansas State?
I mean, there's always that possibility. Looking back, I was surprised that he was actually even offered this kind of job, leaving North Dakota State, considering the guy before him took Wyoming.
Right, Craig Bohl.
Yeah. And Kleinman's success was pretty much based off of his predecessor's recruiting and scheme and all that, much like how it has been for 15 plus years at North Dakota State. Everyone's kind of building off the last guy. So to see the guy who engineered it go to Wyoming, his successor go to Kansas State, I was a little surprised there. But I mean, I don't want to wish negative on anyone, but it almost is time to see what's out there and who could potentially take it to the next level. But at the same time, Kansas State is going to be a hard place to build no matter what, just because the expectations that were laid there by Bill Snyder.
Correct. No, I'm with you, but we talked in the green room. Okay? Go, bro. You put Marion out of UNLV as the head coach of Kansas State with that type of backfield and that kid at quarterback. You're trying to tell me that's not the perfect match? And that's a hell of a shot as a head coach.
Absolutely. But again, I feel like, yes, I think Marion would eat there and would have success. But I don't want to compare these two programs. It's almost like Nebraska in a sense where you have a legendary coach there, had so much success. You could win 10 games every single year like Bo Pelini did, and it's still not good enough.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's just,
I have a question for you. We talk about guys doing whatever, possibly moving up. And what about Jamie Chadwell being the next Kansas State head coach?
How's Liberty doing this year?
They
almost got beat by UMass. It took them to overtime.
I mean, it's still Liberty, bro.
I agree, but I think Liberty should be leaps and bounds ahead of where they're at this season.
Weren't we talking about a lot of players leaving Liberty though?
No,
preseason.
What's his face is still there? Caden Salter,
and Cooley.
Yeah, Quinn Cooley's been great. I mean, listen.
Hey, I'm just going to throw out if Kirk Ferentz magically decided he wanted to retire, I would be all for if Iowa said, "Hey, let's bring in Chadwell." I'd be 100%. So I think he's a program builder, but I think he also needs to. He's done it at the small schools. I want to see if he can do it against the big boys. That would be my only concern.
Here's my thing. Liberty was supposed to be a contender. They are a pretender.
Oh, 100%.
So
could Rich Rod get another shot?
At West Virginia?
No way. No, I know the school.
I've read reports he may. I've read reports he's on the short list.
Here.
100%.
That didn't go well at the end. Granted,
no.
In the peak of it, it was.
I mean, he's been at what? He's been at like Cal, Arizona, West Virginia,
6 schools,
Jacksonville State.
I want to say it's like half dozen.
Yeah, probably pretty close.
I still don't know if he can play in like top tier Division I football.
If you
anymore.
watch some Jacksonville State games, they're looking like this powerhouse type offense, bro. Ground and
And
pound.
I get that. I agree. But
I'm telling you, West Virginia, Anthony Beck is a name to watch.
The former tight end.
Their former tight end, St. Louis Battlehawks coach, gets his boy Rocco to transfer over there, play quarterback for him.
From Iowa State?
Yep.
Oh, wow. All right, you heard it here first. I'm clipping that one. All right,
Go for
moving
it.
on to the next
I'll
one.
take that hot take.
Number 12, Georgia, handed number 7, Tennessee, a 32-17 loss behind Carson Beck's 3-touchdown performance. Vols quarterback Nico Iamaleava did play, but didn't have a touchdown today for Tennessee. Before we get into it back and forth, simple yes or no. Does a 10-2 Tennessee Vols team deserve to be in the 12-team playoff? D-Now.
No.
Boom.
no.
Okay. Boomer. That was the topic of the first question. But should a 10-2 be a successful season for a first-year quarterback?
Yes, but not in that offense.
Okay.
I mean, let's be real. We've seen two average quarterbacks succeed in that offense. And we, as a collective, believe Nico was arguably the top quarterback in that class.
Agreed.
He's definitely your favorite quarterback in that class. So he should be having a certain quarterback from 2 years ago who should have won the Heisman when he blew his knee out numbers.
No.
I believe.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. He should be having better numbers. I've said it before. I've looked into it. I broke it down. There are a lot of things that he is struggling with this year. Last game, he put it together. I don't know if he was 100%. I know he didn't practice all week. I know that what I read was after that game, when they went to halftime, when he came out with the concussion, they were at halftime. He couldn't even be in the locker room because to him it was like being at a concert. So he was able to somehow get over that very quickly and play. And he didn't take any hits. He was pretty clean for most of that game, But I don't know if he was 100%. Don't say.
I mean, it's Georgia's. He probably gun shy no matter what there.
Well, they were bringing the house. If you watched early, they were blitzing, and Kirby was ready from all angles, rolling the safety, hiding the safety. All of a sudden, linebacker would come through a gap. Like they had schemed up to put pressure on the kid, and they did well. Again, it seems as though the Vols turn to Dylan Sampson just a little later than they should, especially since Georgia kind of had like injuries, right? Right, Bell went down at the wide receiver position, kind of had to figure out where they're going. They only had Nate Frazier as the lead back. Both Broderick and Etienne were out. So it was like, I thought maybe the Vols were able to figure it out a little bit. They couldn't. Dino, you talk about him often, so I'm coming to you. Beck looked much better in this game compared to last week. What's the story here? And what is up with Kirby and them constantly talking about the ranking process every single week?
Kirby, everything I feel like in college football has to be a show. So you got to somehow get your program out there. If you want to play the villain,
they do that on their own.
Yeah, well, 100% they do that on their own. But I mean, it's just to gain traction. I feel like just blow smoke up everyone's butt. As for Carson Beck, this is what everyone thought Carson Beck was going to be this year. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was the yips, if he just was not reading the defenses as well as he did last year. But at some point, there was a lot of people saying he may even be the number 1 draft pick. But if he can play like this consistently down the road, last couple games into the playoffs, they make a deep run. We're going to see Carson Beck's name start to rise again and potentially fall in that QB4 range. I think that's probably his ceiling right now. But is the big thing, can he be consistent? Because I don't know what's up with him, to be completely honest.
He showed his mobility in this game.
Which was surprising, yes.
Yeah. Even outside of the touchdown, just seeing his mobility to extend plays, kind of pick up the yardage, move the chains a little bit. He did that. I think he almost had 40 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
UMass and Georgia Tech to close it out. UMass has fired their head coach. He should have 400-plus total yards.
In the first half.
Right. It probably shouldn't even play after the third quarter. You know what I mean? Like, this should be, if he wants to be in that 3 and 4 category in this class, I'm going to need about 800 yards to close out the season from this kid. Probably about, between 6 to 8 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And I want domination from him. Like, I want bucket throws. I want him hitting them back shoulder throws. I want him leading wide receiver. Like, this, I need to see that. If they lose to Georgia Tech, or Georgia Tech is in that game because of the defense, he's.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's going to be a 4th, 5th round draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these GMs and the rest of these people in college football need to see 2 dominant performances from Carson Beck, because he's been Katy Perry for most of the season. Hot, cold, 1 week, you just don't know what you're getting.
Yep.
You want a hot take?
Go ahead.
Carson Beck isn't even better than Jake Fromm.
Wow. Wow, Boom. You are fired up today.
And I'm just, as much tape as I've watched, and I remember Jake Fromm was the dude. And then I also remember him throwing 6 interceptions in a game in high school. And I don't see anything special about Carson. I take Aaron Murray over him every single day of the week. Aaron Murray didn't belong in the NFL.
He was the guy at Georgia. Okay.
Yeah, but that's the thing. He was a dude in Georgia.
Yeah.
Wasn't a first-round draft pick.
No. I mean,
and I still take that dude over.
Beck shows NFL intangibles. He shows.
So Jacob Eason.
Right. No, you're great. I agree. What scares me is the inconsistency with him when it comes to, and it's not even like, how should I say it? Like turnover-worthy plays, big throws. It's just like the dialed in. Like, he has more under 200-yard games than he does over 400-yard games. You're bouncing on the spectrum here. Like, I'd rather you be locked in at 225 for most of the season than be all over the place. You know what I mean? That means some games you're just out of it totally, and you're struggling just to get by. For a kid that's supposed to be top 2 quarterback in the class, it scares me. Sometimes that deep ball placement, he has the arm to get it there. But sometimes that deep ball placement is like a half second off. Like, if you would have just if you had a little bit more on it or threw it a half second earlier, he's still running with the ball. Probably going to be a bigger play. Might have even got you 6. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I was never a fan of him, but Stetson Bennett was able to do that with the deep ball. I'll give him the credit there.
And what's really hurt Beck too this year is the receivers have really downplayed their potential.
Best room he's had, though. Best room.
Yeah, but they dropped so much this year. I don't know what is up with him. Like Humphreys coming over to Georgia, I thought he was going to eat. No, he's got a case of the drops, big time.
Yeah. I agree. I thought he was going to be. You got to remember though. No excuse for dropping the ball. Receivers should have a receiver. He should be able to catch the ball. But he started late. He was behind the ball with injuries. Like, I thought Delp would take that step.
Yeah, he really has. I thought he was going to be tight end 1.
Right. They are the tight end.
Not even close.
Lucci, he's already surpassed him this year, I think, in yardage. So it's like, it's weird in Georgia right now. That running back room being banged up, I think, has been huge for them, because the ground game for Georgia has been, their specialty for the last, 4-5 years. 2 running backs have been able to eat over there for a while now. So it'll be interesting. I think Kirby's talking a lot about this process because he's scared that they could catch a third, and a third loss for Georgia.
Third, I think they're out.
Right. So he's trying to keep them.
I mean, as of right now, they're out and they have 2.
So here's the thing, right? If the last 3 years, there's been 3 lost teams in the top 10.
Right. So 12 right now.
And I mean, to make 12.
No, that's what I'm saying.
It's a quality loss. The question: a quality loss is almost better than a quality win.
Why do you keep saying, "Look at this place; it's a hard place to play"? I don't know what they're looking at, but some of these other stadiums and crowds aren't this.
He's got to sell every game, no matter what, win or loss.
To a lady in white gloves right now. That's what he's trying to do.
I think we're gonna get one of those Alabama, Georgia. Well, they played each other here. They could seriously happen.
Yeah, this guy's victory against this guy against that guy. It's gonna be 6 degrees of separation with Kevin Bacon. That's what it's gonna come down to with Kirby.
Yep.
All right. Number 7, Colorado defeats Utah 49-24, even after a shaky stop by Shedeur Sanders. I'll give it to freshman QB Isaac Wilson for Utah. He battled through mono-like symptoms. I guess he didn't have mono this week, but like mono-like symptoms. And he kept the Utes in the game until the early fourth quarter. Question for both of you, simple yes, simple no. Is Colorado the Big 12 favorite right now? Boomer.
Yes.
Dino.
You already know.
Okay. Dino, what does this victory say for Colorado's season and Travis Hunter once again?
Yeah, so as for the season, if you look at when Dion was at Jackson State, he came there after they had won maybe one game, maybe even winless the year prior. Year one kind of took a step. Year two was kind of 500. Year three is when they really blew up. Colorado prior, god awful, probably one of the worst programs in the country. Year one started hot, then kind of fizzled. Year two, he's ahead of pace if you look at it. He's got a potential 10-2 season at best, 8-4 season at worst. So he's ahead of schedule. And as for this victory, Utah at the time was a top 25 defense, best defense in the Big 12.
Exactly.
And for Shedeur to go almost 75% for 350 and like 3 touchdowns, just shows, hey, Colorado's offense is pretty legit. And to sprinkle it on there, Drelon Miller, who barely had any playing time this year, came in for Horton Jr. And had 6 catches for over 100 yards, a touchdown. You have Wester, 10 receptions.
Yeah.
I mean, he just sprinkled it all around. So it just shows you they are a one-trick pony, but at the same time, they have multiple ponies that could be that guy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was impressed with, if you looked at the first 2.5 drives for the Buffaloes, he wasn't settled in.
No.
Kind of had, I don't want to say the yips, but he was just kind of short on some throws, you know what I mean? Kind of like at the knees. There was one crossing route. I think he could have hit Webster. It probably would have been a big play. It was kind of at his knees. Webster kind of dropped the ball. You know, the pressure, he adjusted to the pressure that the Utes were giving him and what he was seeing in that second turn. Because he was able to adjust. At about the third drive, he adjusted. The placement was better.
Yeah.
He was moving around that pocket well.
Sorry to cut you off. I will say Isaac Wilson in this game, yes, the numbers won't blow you away. Barely over 50%.
The second one.
Yes.
Yeah.
He showed what he could potentially be in that game.
Better than his brother.
100%. And I wish they would have just like, okay, Cam Rising, you're done. We're going to go with this young buck this season.
Yeah.
And let him just actually develop. Because, I mean, outside of this game, I mean, the reps just aren't there. But
he got 2 games, right? And then they pulled him of Rose. And then Rose played 2 games. And I don't even know if Rose would have played if Rose wasn't out for the year.
Yeah. I mean, he showed the flashes. Just let the kids get the reps and build your program.
Yeah, I you know, people want to say, oh, Zach Wilson had a strong arm at BYU. BYU wasn't really playing top-tier teams when Zach Wilson was there.
And I think the best team they played his hot year was Coastal Carolina, and Coastal took him to the woodshed.
Oh, yeah. Grayson McCall lit him up like a Christmas tree. So, yeah, I think Wilson playing Big 12 as a freshman, played like the throw to Dorian Singer for the touchdown. Perfect placement. Led the dude right into the end zone. Full extension. Perfect. Under the weather. You know, I'm not talking about a Jordan flu game here, but I'm just saying, like, the kid performed as a freshman. I think it's only the 4th game that he's played all season. For Colorado, I know everybody's going to say Shedeur and the wide receivers. For me, I think that Colorado will go as far as Jordan Sexton and Isaiah Augustson will take them. If Jordan Sexton can continue to take on 2, I don't know how a freshman, I know he's a 5-star, okay, but he's taking on 2 guys and winning. I mean, I guess all the hype, all the battling for this kid, trying to get him. It was like 4 or 5 schools down the line here when Colorado was making that run for him. He was like, I might go here, I might go there. All the hype was real because this kid is protecting him. I mean, he's got a PFF grade of almost 79 or above for the last 5 weeks. Like, he's doing his thing. And, you know, the former Razorback, I bet you Arkansas would love to have Isaiah Augustson back this season, right? Because he is doing his thing. I know they got, Russell, which we like in Arkansas, but Gus, they needed a run game. They lost the speed, and this kid's kind of been a combination of both. The last couple of weeks, he's been kind of putting it on. Boomer, talk to me about the job Warren Sapp has done with his Colorado front seven. He's not even a legitimate coach. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a GA, and he's got these guys bored, and his enthusiasm and demeanor on the sideline is unmatched by anybody.
Just how he said, he didn't realize how much he enjoyed coaching until he got to coach.
Yeah.
And how much, the passion about playing football and being in the football aspect again, coaching just brings a different soul out of you. I mean, it's just whether you've done it before or not. And to see how the players react to, hey, this dude was arguably one of the greatest football players of our era.
Yeah.
And to get to learn from him and see his energy, because that dude's, he's like a kid in a candy store on the sideline. And just how he acts.
The babies, the babies.
Yeah, it's like he's giddy every single day and, happy to be there. And you can see that rubbing off on the players for sure. I mean, you look good, play good, and he looks like he's having a blast.
He's got the mohawk, bro.
Yeah,
I thought he was diving through the TV screen. He was so animated this week.
I watched this game with my 6-year-old son, and when Warren Sapp came on every single time, he focused in on him and sometimes started laughing just because how crazy he was going. So, I mean, if Warren Sapp can draw the attention of a 6-year-old to watch a full football game, imagine what he's doing for these 18, 19, 20-year-old kids who are actually in the game.
Like, the defensive end position has been glorified over the past decade. But, I mean, interior defensive linemen
don't get no love.
No, right. But it's a gritty position. You got to just – it's a job where you just go to work with no recognition. You know what I'm saying? Like, Keon White for the Patriots, absolute stud. But how many guys on the inside ball out, really?
Unless you're Aaron Donald, no one knows who you are.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So, but he's getting all these kids bored, and not just the guys on the edge. You see these guys, they're stunting, they're rolling, they're pulling, and it's crazy because where they were at last year to where they're at now, I think is well above and beyond. And like I said, he's not even a coach. Like, he's a GA, and this guy's absolutely 100% unequivocally bought in, got these kids bought in, and I absolutely love it. This is going to be something real quick. Yes or no? Let the pot stir for the viewers and afterwards. Is Travis Hunter the best two-way player ever? Like, Charles Woodson is now number 2, correct? Boomer?
It's hard for me because I watched in college, maybe.
No, I'm saying in college.
He's elite, but I would say just the style of play and, the aspect you can't put hands on players like you could back then. Maybe he's elite, but
they put hands on him, bro. Did you see the catch he made in the first quarter? They're raping the kid out there, and he's still making the catch.
For me, I've always said Charles Woodson the greatest player I've ever seen. So
I love Charles Woodson, and I know KT Charles Woodson, that's his guy.
Again,
I wasn't all in on
to honestly say, I mean. I think Charles Woodson's one of, if not the greatest player of all time.
I'm going to go down and say that Travis Hunter may be the best overall football player I've ever watched in college football. And I was not bought in on this kid, but at the amount of plays that he's playing to consistently against the best, he's drawing the best DB when he's out there. He's covering the best guy when he's out there. Yes, he does get beat once in a while. Okay. Revis Island got beat once in a while as well. And the kid is making highlight reel plays on both sides of the ball. Literally every week. He surpassed Reggie Bush for me when it comes to highlight reel college football. Yeah, I know, Dino. And I wasn't bought in on this kid, but I just don't know how he's doing. Then you go back and look at the kid don't potty. The kid's got a 4-point-something GPA, right? Like, Reggie barely could keep his pants on. Reggie probably didn't really go to school. You know what I'm saying? You don't really get a better college football kid than Travis Hunter. And he's humble. It's crazy. For me, I will watch college football a long time. He's top 3, at least. Maybe not the best.
I agree he's top 3. I mean, here's my question. Who is Charles Woodson's quarterback?
Drew Henson? Maybe I don't even know what back
Wasn't
then.
it
No,
one called Thomas Brady?
no,
No,
that was
Woodson's
after.
older. I'm sorry. It was before.
Yeah, it was a couple of years before. So Henson in his freshman season, right? I'm not
Was it
sure.
Greasy
Brian
maybe?
Greasy. Yeah. That would be the other name I would throw
All
out
right, but
there.
in college, Brian Greasy was a dude. I'm not saying he should do a Sanders.
So, okay. I'm going to throw some tidbits out there. Don't get me wrong. Charles Woodson is probably arguably one of the greatest college football players ever.
Agreed.
But he did not do it both ways like Travis Hunter is. He was a package wide receiver.
Correct.
And he was mostly a special teams guy, which is why he won his Heisman. Not taking anything away
Travis
from him.
Hunter is a package wide receiver this year, but he's beating them on every they know when he's in, it's probably going to Travis Hunter.
So I guess the only other name that I could 100% compare Travis Hunter to would be Chris Gamble, early 2000s Ohio State, who also played both ways and ended up winning a natty as both ways. Granted, it was only his junior year where he played both ways because he focused on corner because that's where he was going to be drafted his senior year. But he would be the only one I could compare to. And he's leaps and bounds ahead of Chris Gamble, in my opinion. But as for where I see Travis Hunter ranking in the aspect of greatest college football players, I would probably put him. Brian, you don't want me to answer that question. I would put him as a top 10 all-time player. I mean, I can't put him in front of Reggie. As much as Reggie might have had this off-the-field crap, people
Reggie had
all
a
around
better team, though.
I understand that 100%. But
not just Matt Lyon, bro. The offensive.
No, 100% he had a better team. I just think he's more electric than Travis Hunter. Boise State. He was more electric than Travis Hunter. I think Willis McGahee might have even been more electric than Travis Hunter. Andre Johnson might have been. Anyone on the 2001 Miami Hurricanes team is more electric than Travis Hunter.
Wow. I'm gonna leave it there. We're gonna clip that, run that on the Angry Bird. My guy Brian Browning says, "Who's the most overhyped team in top 25?" I'm gonna answer my team first, and we'll get to you guys. And it's not Boise State. I've grown to respect Boise State as we've come along, and me and Brian have bumped heads. I think we've become, mutual respect for each other. As I'm a UNLV guy. I don't live out there, but I'm a fan of the team, and I think Brian and myself have got a respect for each other as we come here. Brian, I don't know if BYU is the most overhyped team. I'm going to go with, and I've been saying it for a little bit, Illinois is the most top 25 overhyped team.
Are they ranked?
Yeah, they're still ranked.
They're still ranked.
I don't know how they're still ranked. I believe they're 24. They're right underneath UNLV. Yeah. I'm not bought in. They've had very, very ugly games. I don't understand as to why the committee loves Illinois so much. I understand they're a Big Ten team. Yeah, I got to go with Illinois as being the most overranked team. And then, my second most overranked team, and people probably gonna hate me a little bit about this one, is I think Tulane might be a little bit overranked.
No, it's coming.
I'm sorry, Maddie. I love you, and I'm a big fan. But we just got done talking about Atlantic AAC just fired 5 coaches in the conference. How good is the conference been? You know what I mean? I got people.
Army's gonna dog walk him.
Yeah, I just.
Hey, listen, Oklahoma's trash, and they beat Tulane.
But I'm just saying, I love Tulane as a program. I just think to answer Brian's question, those are my 2 top overrated teams. If BYU loses again, Brian, they're cooked. We've already discussed that a little early in the show. We all agree with you there. Dino, Boise State is your most overrated. Just be nice, please.
No, 100%. And this is coming from someone whose team is, I don't know about thrash.
We'll get there in a second. But I want to talk about it again.
This is coming from someone whose offense is almost mirror image of Boise's. They're a one-trick pony. Yes. They're a one-trick pony. Granted, that pony is doing amazing this year, but they're a one-trick pony. And sure, they may make the playoffs off of it, but it's going to be an ugly finish.
For me, with Boise State, my concern is it's not Genty. And like I said, Maddox can play. He has games where he looks real good.
It's their O-line.
It's not even.
I think
it's that
their
secondary. Can that secondary keep up with these bigger, fast receivers? They seem to get kind of lost with these guys going down the field, especially when quarterbacks get time. You know what I mean? I don't see Boise having that like lockdown, shutdown guy. But I do believe in the Boise offense. The O-line does have games where they're off, but it seems as though Genty's able to kind of offset the holes that the O-line has. And when they do protect, Maddox can find time to get it to Prince, to get it to Cam Campa. As far as this statement here, now this game is huge to me because I've been saying I think Notre Dame is overrated. Okay. If Notre Dame shuts down Army and shuts down Bryson Daly, because he's healthy now and he's cooking again, I'll have more respect. I'll give Notre Dame a little.
They'll earn their playoff spot.
If Army beats Notre Dame should be out. And this is not a knock to Army. Notre Dame should be out of the top 15. They should not be in the college football playoff. And Army deserves that shot, dude, because they've done it, and they're doing it against a highly ranked team now, and they're doing it. You want to talk one-trick pony, D-Now? This is one-trick pony-esque right there. Everybody knows what they got.
Mm-hmm.
They can't stop them. You could put the whole bench off there, knowing what they're going to do, and the kid still gets it done. Notre Dame, this is an agreement for both with Army and Notre Dame. Like, this will solidify both of my thoughts. All
right, so let me ask you this. And Brian, I'm going to be nice. Army beats Notre Dame. Does Army take over 12 over Boise? Because they will have arguably the best.
You have to because they're undefeated. It's not enough.
Boise you would think it would be a closer argument now even than it actually is. They have Army 18th in the AP right now.
Army is 18th right now in AP. They dropped down 2 spots.
Exactly. So you would think it'd be closer now, considering they're 10-0.
Well, not all right, but now you're looking at them beating a top 6 team in the country, right? So I think Notre Dame falls out of the top 12 after that loss. Army would have to be in the top. They would have to be a big jump for Army. They would have to be in top 12. They'd have to be put in that. They're undefeated. They'd be 10-0. They would have just knocked off a top 6 team.
Here's my thing. Notre Dame is, number 6 in the AP. Adam, if you beat them, if Army beats them, you got to put them top 10. You got to do it.
You have to, right? Like,
I'm there with you.
If that's how this, if we're going to stay with how we've ranked all year, and the jumps and leaps and bounds, if Army beats Notre Dame, they have to be in the top 10.
And Notre Dame will go to 14.
Have to. Absolutely have to. Boise State, I think, would be behind Army only because they have that one loss. I understand the Oregon game solidifies them kind of being in that group. Army's undefeated. Now they're taking out a top 5 team. At the time, Oregon was Oregon 5 when they played Boise, or 6? I'm not. Army's had a cupcake schedule. I agree there, but a lot of teams have had cupcake schedules in there.
Yes.
Right? Iowa State. We can name
I guess the only thing would be Army, if they're able to. This is the if they're able to beat Notre Dame, they would have won their game against a ranked Brian, where Boise lost their game against their best.
That's what I'm saying, right?
So I mean,
they were ranked right around the same ranking. Like, I think Boise beat Oregon, and then Oregon was like 5 or 6. Right around that. I don't think Oregon was in the top 3 at the time of the Boise State game. I may be wrong. I could be wrong then, but I know it took them a little bit to finally get up there because Texas held that for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, one last one before we get to. I know Brian Bosage will love this. Number 21, South Carolina defeats number 23, Missouri, in cardiac fashion as Raheem Sanders punched it in with less than 15 seconds to go. Lawrence Sellers was electric for the Gamecocks, and head coach Shane Beamer has got something finally brewing. Boomer. 3 consecutive top 25 victories. Who else has done that recently?
It should have been 4.
Okay. Who else is on that pace?
I mean, does South Carolina, in general, look like world beaters when they grab the coach that they grab right now? I mean, this dude's one of the special teams coordinator. he looked. I mean,
And now look at
I feel good about him. I mean, the special teams is great. The defense is elite. I mean, elite. And the offense is playing well enough to stay in games. So,
talk to me about Dylan Stewart, bro.
dog,
Oh, the future. He's the future.
the future, 100%.
Young kids
I mean,
all stepping up.
if he keeps playing where he's at, we're talking like Jadeveon Clowney level person.
I said curse, right? I said, Javon Curse, bro. Like, he brings that, like, freakness to him. And you have to account for where he is every single snap. They finally starting to figure out the Nick Hopper experience. I love the kid's swagger. A ball in the
At the
air.
corner, I can't think of the corner's name top of my head. He's a killer.
Emaware?
Dog.
Top 5 safety in the class, and he's not 5.
Yeah. He's a dog.
That kid's playing on Sundays, and he's going to be the real deal, Holyfield.
100%.
He reminds me of Antoine Winfield so much.
Yo, he's everywhere. Good hands, hits like a train, bro. Smart IQ, knows where to be. He makes up for what other guys lack. He is legitimate. Dino, will the Gamecocks be a favorite next season in the SEC, and can they get to 9 wins this season?
Can they get to 9 wins? Let's see. They're 7-3. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because that last game.
They're playing tough, though.
Yes. I mean, I would probably give it 75-25 that they can.
Okay.
They got Wofford next.
Well, yeah, that's 8, but then Clemson to finish it at Clemson.
The rivalry game, though. That's just as bad as Auburn and Alabama, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's 100% possible with the way that their defense is clicking. So I'll give them like a 75% chance to get 10 wins.
Dude, here's a question.
Or 9 wins, I'm sorry.
Do they creep in?
They could be the 3-loss team.
It would have to see how the rest of the SEC folds out.
They could be that 3-loss team that gets in that people are pissed about, that fucks up this whole playoff.
And
because they're young kids that got experience now, and they got some swagger to them. That's a problem. When you get these kids cooking at this time late in the season with a young coach, I mean, what's he, late 40s? That's still young. That's when they asked him, hey, you won 3 top 25 games. Oh, say that again. I didn't hear that, coach. Say that again.
What's crazy
should be LSU. Should it be Alabama?
Oh, yeah. They should be 9-1 right now.
Agreed.
I'll give it to Brian Bosage. Bosage told me that they were going to be a team to watch out for. I'm like, I don't know, ain't much change besides Dylan Stewart, really. On that team, that O-line still looks. They figured it out. They figured out that they only need to protect enough to get Lascelles into some space. They're doing good. Rocket Raheem, the reemergence of him the last 5 weeks.
If they beat LSU, they'd be top 10 team right now.
Yeah, they would. That's why I ask. I'll ask you both the same question. Are they the favorite walking in to next season in the SEC? They're going to return everybody.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Yeah, today's day and age, you can't say.
I am telling you right now, I'm willing to bet. You win like this, right? With these kids, with that coach, the way you're winning, beating teams, why would you want to leave?
Because money talks.
South Carolina got money.
But do they got Bama money? Do they got Georgia money? Who's to say
Texas,
one of those schools won't be like, hey, Lenore Sellers,
Missouri.
here's $5 million, come play for me. Hey, Nick Harbor, here's $2 million, come play for me.
I guess.
If I was like Brian says, if they can return a majority of these people, then yes, I will say they will be a top 3 team in the SEC. Are they the favorite? I won't go that far. Top 3, 100%.
Who would you rather have right now? Cam Coleman or Nick Harbor?
Dude, you're asking this at the wrong time.
Why? Because he just got 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, if you would have asked me this.
Harbor had one.
But if you would have asked me this last week, I would have said Harbor. But since you're asking me this week, I'm going to go with Coleman.
I'm kind of like 51-49, bro. I've been waiting for the breakout.
Here's the thing, too,
this
though.
kid's a freak.
Oh, 100%.
If they
I was just going to say,
watch out.
Do you play him more of like a spread tight end or put him on the outside? Because he's big enough that he could play like a Jimmy Graham.
He was recruited as a spread tight end. I think that the OC and Beamer had trouble figuring out a scheme for this kid because he's so big. Kind of how the gentleman was at Georgia that took a year or two to get in. There was a,
Mhm.
what's his name? It was Tree. Now he's in Pittsburgh. Washington.
Oh,
Washington.
Washington.
Right? It took a little bit. But the problem is Donald Washington's a slug. Nick
Mhm.
Hopper has Olympic speed.
Yeah.
Which is stupid for his size, right? He shouldn't be able to move like that. Look, they stop moving him on the outside, get him in spots where he can cook. The kid's got hands, like he said. He's got the confidence. Anything in the air, he said in the post-game conference around me, I think it's my ball. Just get me the ball. They're starting to get him.
Megatron-ish.
Yeah, they were getting him running the ball, whether it was carries. Like, they are figuring out a way that they understand, like, him, Bennett, and Sellers are the future of this Gamecocks offense. And whatever you need to do, money, don't give a shit, to keep them three together, and Dylan Stewart. See, everybody says Sellers. I'm telling you right now, Dylan Stewart is going to be the most sought-after Gamecock in the country. Like, he's going to be the dude that everybody's going after.
Yep.
Sellers will be second. I agree. I think South Carolina will find a way. The alum, these NIL trustees, they will find a way to retain these guys.
And
If they retain them, bro, Lenora Sellers took a step that Nico didn't. If he takes another step, bro, I don't know what to say.
he's playing himself into the top 3 in his class.
Yes,
easily.
he is.
But what's crazy is before this win streak, too, they were like, oh, Shane Beamer's not lasting the
I
rest
thought
of
he
this
was
year.
going to have a hot seat. But
Yep.
they were all over the place. Everything that happened last year, the O-line issues, not having a run game, averaging less than 4 yards per carry, couldn't get the ball downfield. That was all repetitive last season. I'm like, what is going on? We didn't learn shit. No developing the quarterback. All of a sudden, I don't know if they sat down. Dawkins has said, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to open up this playbook a little bit. The kid looks like he's ready. Maybe Raheem got to be 100%. Now it took, all right, linebacker has to stay home because this 235-pound running back out the hole can run me over and go for 170. Whatever it was, it's working, and they're all bought in, and they're all on the same page, man. And it's kind of looking scary. South Carolina could be that team that just fucks up this college football
I think
playoff.
they got to hit the portal hard. I think they got to get a few more upperclassmen just for that leadership experience.
Look at this. They brought in Gage Laverdine. He played like 4 games, got a Hula Bowl invite. Oh, 4 games, bro. Like, so they were able to bring in some guys last year that were pretty good. Out, G5 and here lower, P4 schools. The win success, beating teams like this, being in games against LSU and Alabama, you're going to get a lot more eyes. I know the recruits have been there every game that's been at home in South Carolina. The recruits are filling up the sidelines. Watch out, bro. You could see a South Carolina recruiting class kind of like Billy Napier did in the last 2 seasons. And Billy Napier just continues to cook, right? Tramel Jones now. Billy's safe, bro. I don't think Billy's going anywhere.
Yeah.
I know. It looked like he was out the door. But somehow Billy was able to moonwalk his ass back into his seat. And he's chilling right now, it seems like.
Which is just like, not to get off too much off topic. It's just crazy because Dan Mullen had a better career.
Dan Mullen didn't have a better recruiting skill class.
Maybe not, but he
Dan
was
Mullen
able
didn't
to
have DJ
win.
Lagway.
He was able to win.
He didn't have DJ Lagway in his pocket.
No, he didn't have a quarterback like that, but he was still able to win. And they chased him off after a 6-5 year?
Yeah, 6-5 year, but the previous year ended out very sour prior.
Yeah, but didn't they still win 10 games that year?
They won 10 games, but they lost 2 games down the stretch or a game down the stretch. I think it was 2 games down the stretch. One they lost, one they barely squeaked out, which made them fall on the poll because they should have won in dominant fashion. So it was like, 6-5, but there was some questions, and there was some in-house shit. I think that didn't work out as well.
His assistants weren't very good.
They were terrible. I think I honestly think they kind of let him out.
Randy Shannon.
Yeah. Back to South Carolina though. I think they're cooking. I think that there's a good chance you could see some bigger names this year want to hit that portal and end up being at South Carolina. Now you give this kid a little more talent. They're going to have to replace Rocket Sanders. He's going to the NFL. So they're going to need a running back somewhere in this portal. They're probably going to hit that hard. They're probably going to try to get a top-tier offensive lineman, left tackle, I would assume. Protect their guy if they can retain him. Everybody knows I've been on a Jalen Kilgore train since he got there as a freshman. I'm telling you now, he is just going to make the switch to the MORA fill-in, right? He's going to be that strong safety that can do it all. They already had him in the slot this year to kind of train him. Last year he was on the outside. This year he's in the slot. I could see him making that transition to the safety position and being that kind of jack of all trades. So they're looking like they have the pieces. It'll be real interesting. Boom. Absolutely phenomenal show. Appreciate you, gentlemen. Anything you guys want to say before we wrap this up?
I'm just happy to be here again, to be honest with you.
This is 3 in a row.
Hey, I'm not. Hey, as long as I'm free on Mondays. KT, I appreciate you. You're the man. I love you up here. But if you don't want to be here, I'm here. So
he's busy, man. He was able to do the showdown show today. But maybe we'll get I'm not the biggest fan of a 4-person lineup, but it's been a while since I've been able to put KT in the hot seat and kind of
governor
press this button. Yeah, it's time for the governor to get questioned. Donald Trump just won the election. I think it's time for the governor to sit in the seat and get questioned a little bit. Brian, we appreciate you, our resident Boise State fan. Every time you're on the show, it always kind of stirs the pots up. It started with me. Now,
I think it's on me now.
Take it over. You never know. If Boomer gets in the mix, it could make for a very interesting show. But we appreciate you, Brian Browning. You're in here. You're a resident Boise State fan. You're in here almost every week, both shows. So we appreciate you. I appreciate both you gentlemen. We miss KT, but it's kind of like a different vibe. When KT's in here, it's another different vibe. It's all vibes. That's what we do at CFB Nation. But we'll always bring you that college football news. I'm Nino Brown. That's Dino. That's Boomer. CFB Nation. We out.
Yes, sir. Today I am the governor of college football. Yes, sir. The mayor of college football, a.k.a. downtown Nino